I should have pressed record 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, you should have.
You should have.
I feel like
Although
every time.
it would have been like a full 45 seconds of us just laughing.
Yeah,
True.
I have a feeling that even if I say it again mid podcast, it's going to be another 45 seconds of laughing. So I'm hoping the joke will hit the second time. If not, humor me. So
We'll give you a courtesy.
exactly.
I don't fake laugh very well or fake orgasm either. So
And that's where this podcast is starting.
Here we go. Dropping knowledge bombs. Thanks, Jade.
All I can think of is Tom during our group chat for the company of like Jade's unmentionables. Like if he listens to the first minute of this podcast.
oh my God, Tom. He's like brings up the most Victorian sort of like verbiage. Sometimes he's like, and he literally, you can just see him like, you're unmentionables, like this fake shock, like, oh my goodness. It's like, Tom, you don't really care that much.
It's like Jade's like, I've seen your chart. I know you.
Exactly.
Jade's like, you want to see my ankles?
Exactly. That just killed me when I found that out. Like back in the day, it was scandalous to show your ankles. I'm like, oh my,
Poor
not the ankles.
Poor Lululemon 7/8 pants. It's true. I can't get a pair of pants, maybe because I'm also 5'8", that covers my ankles.
You're walking around perpetually scandalous, which is pretty much accurate anyway.
Absolutely. That is so fitting for this lifetime for you.
Yeah. This will be a fun one because your camel hump of sleep is pretty low and you get pretty giddy when you're really tired, and I love it. I'm here for it. So
my camel hump of sleep is at like, I don't know, maybe 18% right now. So we're doing well.
Oh,
yeah.
Shit. We need to plug her in, guys. Plug her in quick.
One of you guys can do your personal life updates first, with that being said.
Jade needs to do it. You
oh
got
my
some
goodness.
shit.
Jade, PLU us.
Mine's too okay, I've got to kind of bring it down. So last week I shared this journey of, clearing, how I am clearing space in my soul, my brain, and that's, started with dry January, but much deeper than that. And I had really dug into a list of people that I wanted to go and talk to, and one is a healer that I've seen like 3 times in the past 5 years. I only go like every year and a half because her sessions are like 4 hours long and they take me like a year to digest. So she lays some heavy shit on you. So I was trying to imagine Cass and Kim in the same room.
That's
like
where my head just went as soon as you said
where mine did
wow.
too.
I'm like, I don't know.
For 4 hours. And
I don't like, you guys can be alone in a room and there will literally, if you're standing outside the building, the sparks will literally be coming out of the building. So
virtual sessions, asking for not a friend.
Whoa, she does. Yeah, she does. Yeah. And the first, I shared some more personal things that she said to me about one of my kids to you guys, but something that I've really been just dreaming about and just kind of focusing on is this concept she talked about for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So I'm going to try to say it in 30 seconds, which is tricky. This concept that there's so many dimensions, and she's like, but my brain can only fuck with 9. She's like, I stay on 9. And she's just talked about how she went through this death a few months ago of recognizing that when you're in this 9th dimension, there is no form, or there is no God to call on anymore. There's no crystals left. There's no Reiki left. You just are. Mm-hmm. And humanity doesn't matter. Chaos and light are there, and it's just that kind of idea in Christianity of when God created the world, it was a formless void. It just is pulsing energy. And that took her down for a few months because she was just like, then what's the point? And then she was met by Thoth. Am I saying that right? And he said, it's okay that I don't exist. you can still move down from that 9th dimension, and you can fuck around with me all you want. Do it in the 7th, then do it in the, come down to the 3rd dimension if you need to. Wake up sometimes in the morning and be like, I am fully ego today. I'm going to roll around in it. I'm going to get sticky in it. I hate today. I'm mad today. I pick up your crystals, girl. Pray to me. It's okay. It doesn't matter that none of this matters. You are human and you are here for a reason. You have an ego. You have this. It's okay. And I was just like, when she talks to me often, I just will cry, but I'm not crying like crying. It's just like
You're
tears.
weeping.
Like, yeah, just like, because I feel what she's saying, the truth of what she's saying. And it just hits and it feels right in my body, you know? So that obviously has been incredibly powerful. It's like all stuff that I knew, but I'm just kind of sitting with that and trying to plug it into my daily life, you know? So there's a lot coming up for me in the next couple of weeks that I have kind of arranged and organized for myself, but that's what I want to share in my personal update. It's a lot.
My head still wants to go to the 11th dimension and just talk about that for the rest of the podcast, but
right?
The fuck?
Yeah,
it's what the fuck.
Yeah, you do. Like, you want to stay there, right? And that's why we seek this, you know, like self-work and plant medicine. It can dissolve that, you know, that DMN, that default mode network, right? We can have these little ego deaths, but it's always so, like, especially for some casts, like, to come back into your body and there you are again, and you're just human. Like, there you are again, face to face with your ego, face to face with yourself as a human. And just like that notion of like, I love the way she kept saying, roll around in it. Like, roll around in the truth. Stop assigning things like good or bad or that, you know, they just are. Yeah, so that's my personal update.
That is deep shit, Jade.
More on that to come in the next episode.
I kind of feel like I need to roll around in what you just said a little bit.
Please do. Go next, KK.
Oh, God. Personal life update. You know, it's funny. I don't even know. Like, I feel like, the last week has just kind of flown. I guess from a personal life thing, when things are like, when there's stuff that I feel like I don't know how to handle this, I go to organization. I know these two are going to be so surprised. Yeah, shock and awe, right?
That wasn't even on
You
cue.
gotta watch the YouTube of that one. We both did the exact same thing with the same like hand.
Let's guess. You started with your kitchen.
Close. Hall closet.
That was my second guess.
Yeah, and then went into the pantry and like laundry. And then proceeded to organize Hayden's arts and crafts. So felt good, but didn't address, you know, the root of what I was feeling overwhelmed by. So, you know, that's where I'm at right now. Just as Jade's kind of rolling around in this, like, just being, I'm, you know, fighting my disassociation coping mechanisms that are kind of disguised as healthy, right? Like, people be like, oh, wow, you're so productive. Like, you got so much done. You organized. And I'm like, yeah. But then I also like didn't address what I should have been addressing. So, you know.
So can you share at all, like, even subject matter of the thing that you felt like you were addressing, or do you not want to go into that?
No, I can. I think it's like further into that, like, release of, like, do I have time for everything?
Yeah.
Am I going, you know, am I going to overload myself? Or it's like that trusting.
Sure.
Like, I need to trust fall right now, but I'm trying to, like, masculine and control and, like, cognitively work through how it all works.
Yeah.
And I think what is true in this moment is that I can't do that, and I'm not going to, you know, if I feel like I don't have control, I'm like, but I do have control of this.
Because look at my silverware drawer. Look at it. It is beautiful.
Oh, I think Kaylin just froze on the cutest like smile ever. Is she frozen for you, Cass?
Yeah, we lost her.
She's so cute though.
What's really funny, we'll leave her there. She'll come back. But I want to say that what I'm being told is too organized. And I was like, that's so unfair. Because that is not my default mode.
Right, exactly. You're like, please don't make me organized, spirit.
We'll go back to that in a minute, but that was just a little sneak peek of my personal life update now that Kaylin's back.
What did I miss? Damn it.
You'll find out momentarily. A little foreshadowing of the podcast.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's good, Kaylin. That makes so much sense for you. And I feel like something you run up against, which is why, you know, for forever you were drawing the play card. It's like, stop organizing and just play. You're like, I don't even know what that means.
Like, this is play. What the hell?
Yeah, all the times we
gizmos and clear containers and organizers episodes.
I got some beautiful new containers for Hayden's arts and crafts closet. Let me tell you what. And he's been able to stick to it, which I love, brings me joy. So
you are so cute. I recently, this is a little bit of a side note, but I recently realized, because Alana was here and we were looking at her human design chart, that I had put in the wrong birthday in her human design chart. So for the past year, I have been drawing off the wrong information. She was like, Mom, that's not even the right. And I'm like, oh my God, why did I do that? So I put the right birthday in, and her chart magically became like yours, Kaylin.
Does she get a job?
She will work. She will. She is a generator plus. And I started thinking back, and we were dying laughing because every mother, this happened like 5 times. A mother would call me and say, can Alana come over and play? Because Alana would go over and organize the kids' room. And her friend came over and said, remember, I would never want to have a play date with you at my house because you would make us clean your room, my room, before you would play with me. And Alana would be like, I just couldn't play house in those circumstances. It was messy. Like, we needed to organize so that I could find peace in the, like, so I'm like, no wonder. She's a generator.
What was the wrong thing?
I had her as a mansion.
Oh.
And with like completely different defined energy centers. And she's not. She's a generator, and she's almost completely defined.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So to that point, I'm just saying, like, I can imagine you as a little girl. Were you always like that? Like, did you have your room like?
So it's funny that you brought that up though, because my mom and I had this conversation on like Monday or Tuesday about how when I was younger, my room was like my junk drawer. So like everything else, like at school, everything was organized. And like, you know, I kept, when I was in like my learning, like work environment, like that was, you know, very like organized in how I needed it to be so I could function in it. But at home, my room was where I would just throw all my shit and then I would close the door. And it was like, that was my like blah space. And she's like, but as an adult now, like you can't function in that. But also my home is also my workspace.
Yeah.
And my question is, what is your junk drawer space then? Because that's the question that's pinging in my ear.
Right.
My junk drawer, I have a junk drawer.
No, but like, where is that space that you can just go blah?
Oh.
Oh.
Really good question.
Not mine. Thanks, Spirit.
We do not have enough time for us to dig into that, but we could probably absolutely get into that.
She's like, deflect.
Yeah.
She's like, hold on, I need to go organize my something needs organization. Normally I don't get questions for you like that. So when they do, I was like, oh, this is a fun one. Let's go.
We will revisit that one.
Exactly.
Next week.
Literally writing it down. Jade,
oh God.
On the next moon cycle.
Oh, where's Kaylin's junk drawer?
Slash her place. Oh, there.
What's your personal update?
Well, I finally got home after the longest layover.
Cheers. Amen to that.
Oh my goodness.
Girl. And it's interesting because it's like a forced pause, essentially, was what happened. And I got rerouted to DC, and I don't like the DC area. I lived there for years, and I was like, oh, kind of bitter. And Tom, being the smart
I'm
person
kind of bitter.
I was like, I don't really want to stay. Like, why couldn't I get stuck in Charlotte? Like, I was like, or Chicago. Like, I was like, literally, like, you guys knew I was like plotting, and I was like, maybe if I move somewhere where I have people, like, I have people in DC. I just didn't really like, I didn't feel compelled to reach out to them. Sorry, all my friends in DC who are listening to this. Like, it's just because I also didn't know when I was leaving, because they kept moving it back by like 3 hours, and then 6 hours, and then the next day, and then the next morning, and then the next afternoon. It was like, it was a shit show. I took a picture, and I'll put it up. Maybe that's going to be our photo for the podcast of all of the tickets that I had. Like, so, there was probably 14 plus changes of like,
that's a shit show.
So it was this forced pause, and Tom goes, why don't you go to the spa you used to go to? And I was like, oh, you mean the spa that I had the good idea to like change around my marriage, get divorced, get like start dating again, change jobs, like where I've made all my big decisions? That kind of makes sense. Like, needed someone basically to tell me to go to my one of my most happy places. So spent an entire day there. I think I was there for like 9 or 10 hours.
Wow.
Which was like, it felt like maybe an hour and a half, and basically have been revisited by something I was told to do 2 years ago. And that is to, I wish I were Kaylin, simplify, organize, and get ready. Because that is not my natural tendency. That is not where I go when I am stressed. I wish it was. But basically 2 years ago, like, it was just get really intentional with your stuff, the energy that the stuff holds, the stuff that's around you, like, be like, and I got kind of this wave of, when we move next, it will be a very, very quick move. So basically, like, get ready.
Yeah. And if you were Kaylin, you'd be like, yes, that's awesome.
Sounds
marching
like
orders.
Get me some black garbage bags. Let's fucking get this shit out of here.
And Cass
dump
is like,
runs, Tom.
And I'm like, I don't have time. Like, I'm like, it's not that I don't enjoy. I actually really enjoy getting rid of stuff. I really do.
So therapeutic.
It really
is. It's the best.
Especially if you live with, parents who liked to hold on to just.
I don't like stuff.
I don't like stuff either, but like, even like, I mean, and I don't have like, I mean, if you look at my house, it's not minimalistic, but it's also not cluttered.
No, it's not at all.
Being led to go to more of like the very minimalistic, like the conversation last night was, Tom, why do you have 4 pairs of tweezers? Like, let's pick one. Like, let's go.
Wow, are you going to move to a yurt?
I don't think I'm going to move.
Hold on. There could be a purpose for 4 sets of tweezers, because not all tweezers can be considered equal. Just to play devil's advocate here, I have multiple pairs of tweezers, but some are better than others.
They're
like, I use these tweezers for my eyebrows, these tweezers for my nose hairs, these tweezers are for my ear hairs.
I'm really good at getting splinters out, but like, I wouldn't use them on my eyebrows.
I mean, I'm a fan of the regular, the blunt tip, and the slant tip, and then that's it. We're good.
Agreed. So. You don't really need more than one blunt, one slant.
And to be fair, we have the Tweezerman brand. We're not talking about shitty tweezers. We're talking about $26 a pair of tweezers.
And why are tweezers so important?
I don't know.
I mean, that's a whole.
Because our fingers can't be that small. That's why.
I have one in my purse because Diana runs her feet on the ground and gets splinters everywhere. So I'm like, I'm just going to keep one. And it's perfect for, like the Old Navy or like Gap changing rooms where you're like, whoa, what is that hair doing there?
What is with those mirrors and that light? They're like,
lighting.
What are you trying to do when you try on a swimsuit in here? This is not good. Harsh.
But they're great for hairs. You're like, oh, hello. So anyway.
So I digress. Back to you, Tom. Why do you have 4 pairs of tweezers?
No, but just like very simple of like, we're going to our next move of no matter what we do, or if we buy, I got told by a healer that I met with in Virginia, and that's probably a topic for another day, Zen Cat, and the healer, the Vedic astrologer that I went to in California, he was like, you will have multiple properties. He's like, and you will be traveling a lot. Like that was part of his.
You've never not been told that.
Proclamation.
Yeah.
So I think that this is all part of that. And I think honestly, the vibe that I got last night when I was doing kind of a shamanic journey was I've been basically cock blocking myself from some of the stuff that I'm waiting to happen because I haven't done what I was told to do. So yes,
that's good.
Yes. So
yep.
I'm right there with you, Jade.
Yep.
Last week's episode, I'm like, okay,
seriously, yeah.
Let's clean.
Why do we cock block ourselves?
And it's like, it's not hard stuff.
It's not hard stuff.
It's just something you have to do. It's like,
I know. Getting into the minutia of and the granular level of being human is sometimes the trickiest part. Yeah, love that.
And unfortunately, Spirit didn't say call Kaylin, have Kaylin come up and do this for you. It was you have to do it. So
unfortunately,
no easy buttons here. Damn it.
No, I was like, damn it. I was like, maybe you got lost in translation. Nope, definitely not lost in translation.
You can bring a team though. You can have Shannon like come and stand in the room with you and hold the bags or something.
Hold the bags.
Oh no, I think there's a combination.
No, I feel like it's good for you and Tom to do together.
It is, yeah. We were talking about that last night.
Anthony and I did that together. God, it would have been when we moved from Florida to North Carolina. Before we even knew we were moving, Marie Kondo was a big deal, January 2019.
Yep,
and we watched the whole special. Of course I did. Duh.
Of course you did.
Because I am myself. And
like
we went through, oh yeah, hell yeah. We went through the whole house, but we did it together and it was wild, but like so good.
Yeah.
It is wild to do that with your person because you have very different ideas about what needs to go and what needs to stay.
Well, and then you bring the energetic level into it too. And it's like that was one of the things that I talked to kind of one of my mentors about a year plus ago was like, when you buy something, you take the energy of that thing into your house. So like, we were talking about, like some things that are made in, less than ideal working conditions, like be it child labor, like, yes, that piece of furniture from, sorry, TJ Maxx is inexpensive, but like what energies is that still holding on to that you can't necessarily clear with like a sage or a Apollo that you're now absorbing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of our conversation of like, not only is it just it's not necessarily minimalistic. Like I will still have all my gadgets and gizmos, no doubt. It is like, but the energy that goes into the things, which is why I was probably attracted to that artwork in Seattle.
Yeah.
Like I could not like that just got to the house. I could not bring that with me.
Because you wanted to invite that into your house. You're
Correct.
like, this is a blessing I'm inviting into my house just by hanging this.
Correct. It was like,
I feel like too, for you and Tom, because of your backgrounds as well, and the way that you guys grew up and how, different your differences and your similarities, it is important to go through together and touch each thing and decide, do we want this or do we not want this? Because it almost forces you guys to release some of that from your childhood or things that you've carried with you. It's like, okay, why are we carrying this? We don't need it. And where one is struggling with something, the other one can help. And where the other is struggling, the other can help.
And what we talked about last night, which is really interesting, is in his mind, the less stuff is actually more scarcity. Like, so it's interesting. Like, it doesn't matter that, we're getting rid of 5 $1 wooden spoons. If we have one wooden spoon, that's $20, that's olive wood. Like there's one, it's still like a scarcity thing. So that was an interesting kind of conversation and piece to bring in and think about too.
Instead of freedom.
Yes.
Yeah.
So much fun.
So much fun. Lovely. I love our personal updates this week. I think we did a really good job being very vulnerable and real.
I'm talking about tweezers and lights and random hairs.
Okay, vulnerable, real, and weird and fun.
Exactly, and weird. That makes total sense.
There's some real authenticity happening right now today. It's fine.
What's our next topic?
Shaman shit.
Oh, I guess I'll talk about the bank.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was in all over the place. Let's just put it that way. And when I was in I moved from Seattle to California last week. And I noticed a lot of things when I'm driving. And it's generally like birds and trees and different flowers. And like, I'll be like, oh, there's an herb, along the highway. I want to go harvest. Like, it's just, I noticed that stuff. And I found myself noticing banks. And I was like, that's really weird. Like, okay, fine. I'm noticing banks. And I kept noticing City and Chase. And I was like, okay. So I said to these guys, I was like, I think I need to go to the bank. Like, just very like kind of questioning, but I'm like, it's obnoxious. Like, I was like, I Googled on Google Maps and I was like, there's not that many banks. Why am I only noticing them at like every stoplight? And it's like every place I'm going to is like a series of City and Chase. So I made an appointment at Citibank and I was like, I will open another, because my cognitive brain took over. And I was like, I will open another bank account aligned for Tola. Like, I'll make sure we have a checking account at a national bank. Like, maybe that's what we're being led to, like very like practical. So I made an appointment, got there, good to go. And I sat there for 2 hours, which is excruciating. I'm just giving a moment of silence for that.
2 hours you'll never get back.
Ever. And nothing happened. It ended up in the fact that they couldn't open a bank account without all of my other co-founders there, which is like not happening. But at an hour and a half thereabouts, I met a random man who walked in, who was getting a debit card for his kid, who was a Vedic astrologer. And he heard words that I was saying. I heard words that he was saying. So we then started chatting because, again, I had nothing to do other than sit there and wait. And he invited me back. He invited me back to his house, and what's the funny
context? You cannot just say that, Cass. He invited me back to his house. Sure,
he did.
It was consensual.
Do you want to come up for a cup of tea?
No, like, I'm a Vedic astrologist. I was like, great. I've been wanting one of those.
Can I get in your chart?
No, before you went into said house, you sent address, location.
I did send my address, but he didn't ask if I wanted to go back. And also I didn't know it was his house. He just gave me an address. He didn't say apartment, but it was an apartment. And I also I don't know, I just felt good about it. So I said, it was like 11:30. I said, cool, I'm going to go get lunch. I'll see you at 1. I did send them the address though, because I am a safe person.
Yes. Thank you.
And I walked into his house barefoot because he had to take his shoes off at the door. Was greeted by his wife and his kids, who was making chai and, doing the dishes, and the house smelled like I should have probably eaten lunch there.
Yeah.
For being honest. And I was led to kind of this side room that is floor to ceiling pictures, posters of and beautiful paintings of like Indian deities, and an altar with like all offerings of fruit and spices and gold coins and incense and all of the things. I was like basically transported and like plunked down into like an Indian temple.
Awesome.
So we sat there for about an hour where he read kind of my chart and some of the things in there. And then he proceeded to tell us, shall we go into Hex? We're going into Hex.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, why not?
He proceeded to tell us that one of the things, he goes, I see 2 other people you work with. And I was like, well, there's actually going to be 5 or 6 of us, but yes, there's 2. So I knew he was talking about you guys. So he's like, I see a Hex. And I'm like, and his English is very accented, very thick accent. So I was like, Hex? And he's like, yes, like black magic hex. And I was like, oh, okay, good. Just I wanted to make sure we were on the same page. And he's like, it's blocking you from receiving kind of money. So I was like, okay. And of course, like the shaman in me, I was like, still doubts everything, even though I say weird shit all the time to my clients. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm pretty sure. And I was like, okay, cool. Just making sure. Like nothing I say sounds weird, but like, that's just a whole nother level. You see a hex? No, that can't possibly be.
Right.
So he goes, do you want me to remove it for you? And I'm like, oh God, here comes a price tag. So he goes, it's $1,000. I was like, that seems expensive. Meanwhile, you guys know what I charge. But I was like, to remove a hex, what does that take? I could probably do that myself. I felt like an old white man, like bartering at a yard sale.
Cass, you can only do podcasts
50 cents, I'll give you 25.
Exactly.
You can only do podcasts, by the way, when your camel hump is empty, because this is magic. Like the way that you tell every story is just different. It's just like so
I
like
become Tom when I'm tired. So
I could probably do that myself.
I didn't know it was there, but sure, now that you told me, I could do it now. So I also know that Indian culture is big to barter and to have that exchange and to have that conversation about it.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what does that entail? And he's like, I would pray to, the 3 gods that are coming. We would do 9 prayers. I'll send you the prayers and then I'll pray for them over in your name, birth date, etc. for 28 days straight. And I'm like, I'll give you $500. And he's like, perfect, let's start. And literally like closes Jade. You would have loved this. The astrology, he doesn't use astrology on the internet. He
right.
used the astrology book. And it was like Bible thickness times 8.
I believe that.
It was so cool. He's like, okay, November 11th. Are you sure it was the 11th? It was a Friday. Okay, like digging through this book,
wow,
which is pretty cool. And it's all
it's cool.
It's all not in English, and it's all the Vedic charts, which is
very cool.
It was pretty cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little part of me that's like, can I take a picture? But like I knew that was rude.
Right.
I so badly wanted like a recording or something. I was like, Cass, please.
Yeah, unfortunately you couldn't. I do have his phone number. We are texting back and forth. He's now become a friend of mine because he was asking about my mentors and he's like, oh, you don't have an Indian person, I see. Maybe you need one. And I was like,
maybe I do indeed.
No,
but I do have Yoda. So,
I go kind of close. So I was like, okay, let's remove this hex. So as soon as I said that, like he wasn't like, okay, pay first. He literally gets in the floor and starts praying and chanting and moving spices and herbs and fire and incenses around. And he goes, okay, I'm going to pray to these gods. He's like, goes, Ganesha. I said, okay. He goes, you know who that is? I said, yes. He goes, and he was like challenging me. He goes, point it on the wall. And I was like, sure, no big deal. He's like, Lakshmi. I said, okay. Yeah. He said, do you know who that is? I said, yes. He goes, point to her on the wall. So I'm like, she's over there. And then he goes, Hanuman. I said, do you know who he is? And I'm like looking. And I was like, I actually don't see him. And there's like this little fucking deity that's maybe 3 inches like in the corner of the room. And he's like, ha, I stumped you. And I'm like, thanks, friend. Like, I didn't see the little, and it's like, it's red lights. It's not like very bright in there. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't see your 3-inch deity in the corner. So I got the other 2 right.
Sounds super dirty. Deity. Super dirty. Oh my God. I can't, Cass. My little boy mind is just,
I know. Same.
So anyway, he prays.
Your 3-inch deity
in the corner
in the room.
It wasn't meant to be dirty, you guys.
I know. Sorry.
No,
continue.
So good.
So he does his prayer. He hands me a Ziploc bag that looks like it has curry powder in it and a gold coin that has Lakshmi on it, which is like their goddess of kind of wealth, abundance, perseverance, like kind of triumph, overcoming, like a lot of energy in her. And then he's like, okay, he's like, I'll start the prayers. He's like, I'll send you them, which he hasn't sent them to me. I need to remind him. Note to self. And then he's like, and then literally he's like, keep this coin with you for the next 28 days. And I was like, okay.
Where is it right now?
It's at the house. So it is in fact with me. I didn't bring it on the plane because it was kind of questionable, a bag of powder with gold coins in a Ziploc. I thought TSA could kind of have a field day with that. So I was like, let me just put it in checked baggage to like avoid some awkward.
So that coin traveled then.
That coin did travel.
So maybe that 28 days isn't supposed to start until you have the prayers and the coin
he did his first set of prayers when I was sitting there and head and taking, I don't know what it was. It looked like a ground curry kind of saffrony color powder, and is like dipping his hands in water and then making symbols on the paper and all sorts of crazy stuff. So
that's really, really cool. I love that you got to have, I've wanted to have a Vedic astrology reading for a long time. I know it's so different, but as we always say, the beauty of all these modalities is the information is never at cross purposes or negating another modality. If it's a solid, well-intentioned, and that's really great.
For sake of example for that, he started, "You are more masculine than feminine." He goes, "You speak and shit gets done." And I'm like, "You're not
Been
wrong."
told.
Something I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, "Oh, did you know who I was before I walked in? Cool." But this is again all from charts. So no, and I've been told that hundreds of times, and it's obviously true. And
it doesn't matter what chart you're coming from. Yep.
So drive like your Mars is in Aries. Anyway, speaking of that, let's move on to astrology.
Drive like your Mars is in Aries.
So my favorite.
Well,
a good one.
When this podcast airs, we will be blessedly out of, and currently even out of Mars and Mercury in retrograde. They will both be stationed direct, and that is glorious for forward movement, and your thoughts that you've been kind of percolating can kind of move forward now without negating the importance of retrograde, because retrograde makes you pause and look back. But now, all the pausing you did, time to put it into action, right? And is it the 23rd? Let me look at we have a new moon.
But in Aquarius is
21st. Yep. So the new moon in Aquarius. So the sun's entering Aquarius, and then the new moon will also be in Aquarius. And Aquarius is a lovely energy. It's air. It's very focused on the collective. It has the ability to see the good of the collective, using technology for the benefit of the collective, using organizations and systems that work for the collective to move forward into a new future. So I love Aquarius energy. At the worst, it's not even the worst, but in one form, it can be very detached. So if you're feeling detached during that new moons often are very quiet, introspective times. But if you're like, where's my feelings? Because we had so many feelings with Cancer, right? That Cancer energy we had recently. If you're feeling like, where are my feelings? Just chalk it up to Aquarius, because it can really help you detach, which can be a good thing sometimes and sometimes not. So that's kind of what's going on when this airs. And yeah, anything else you think I should say?
I think a little nod to, this is the first time, I think starting next, the 24th, where there is nothing retrograding.
Yeah, for a hot minute.
While. Yes. Like Mercury came out, Mars came out, and then Uranus came out. So
yeah,
nothing is going backwards for right now.
For a second. And then let me
enjoy
see
that
next time. Yeah, enjoy that. So June, October, August, May, September. Actually, we get quite a break from retrograde energy, which is lovely. A few months. So that's nice. Let's get some shit done this winter, rest of this winter into the spring.
Yeah, I think from having that Aquarius and then going right into the full moon in Leo, we're ready.
Full moon in Leo, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, the beginning of February. So that'll be all what we talk about next episode.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the astrology. And then I think that really kind of segues us into talking briefly about aligned, because we kind of mentioned this last week, but we're very much working with that Aquarius energy right now and counting on that. And we should talk about
some uncomfortable conversations.
Harpo's trying to get something out of his throat right now. So
but the exciting things too.
Don't even get me started on Harpo.
On Harpo. We'll link that.
We can roast him today.
Yeah.
We'll get. Do you want to do that now, or do we want to do Harpo later?
We got to link the infamous TikTok video.
We do have to link the TikTok video, because that just perfectly describes Kaylin's geriatric dog.
Oh God.
Yeah.
He needs to cross over the Rainbow Bridge. He might need some assistance. I've been really trying to tap into him and be like, come on, Harpo, tell me what you need. What do you want? And he just like sits and stares at me, and then just like,
all I get is hot dog when I tap into Harpo.
That sounds about right.
He just wants to live his rest of his life eating hot dogs.
He's like, I'm sticking around a little longer because I don't know how many more hot dogs I'm going to get out of you.
We haven't made hot dogs in a while, so he hasn't really had them. Sorry.
Maybe make hot dogs, and then that'll be all the assistance he needs.
And then maybe he'll just go peacefully.
I feel really bad if you message me and be like, we had chili dogs for dinner and Harpo's gone.
Well, we don't eat chili in this household, so that's not happening.
Right. No, sorry, beanless chili.
We just don't eat chili in general.
Not even beanless chili?
Mm-mm.
Well, I guess we're roasting chili then today.
No chili here.
Beans, so.
Yeah, I am married to someone that has a big heart for animals. And in that, just like, I'm like urging him, like, this is not fair. This is not fair to Harpo. This is not good for Harpo. He's putting on a happy face because he loves us, but it's time. He can, like, if he sits for too long, he can't use his back 2 legs. He literally walks on his front 2 feet. Like, that's not good.
I'm laughing because I felt like that the other day when I was sitting cross-legged on the plane.
You and Harpo had that in common.
I was like, ooh.
Yeah, we're in a workaround right now. He has agreed to have an appointment with the vet to get the vet's opinion on if it is time to
help him cross,
let him go.
Yeah.
Wow.
So fuck you, Harpo, and your fucking cough.
Oh my gosh. That was a turn.
Well, it's the roasting section.
It's the roasting section, so I had to give him a good roast.
We did the same thing with Gizmo, though, but Gizmo, they needed to give a double dose of euthanasia because he was stubborn.
Spiteful little dude.
He like went out biting them. Like couldn't use his back leg, like tail was dying, fur falling completely off, bowels going away, and still wanted to live. So, and with a double dose of sedative, he still bit the guy going out.
Man, this is a dark conversation. We need to put a trigger warning on this one.
Speaking of which, they're not called trigger warnings anymore.
What are they called?
Yes. Segue.
Yes, great segue. Thank you. I knew we'd eventually get there. So we are now calling them UCs in aligned. And this kind of brings us to aligned conversations / conversations that we've had amongst us as teams.
Yeah.
And I've always hated trigger warnings.
Yeah.
It like
you triggered me by saying trigger warning.
Correct.
Yes.
100%. Like,
yes.
Also, like, how do you know what's going to trigger me?
Yes.
Like, sit down.
It's offensive. It's like you're literally saying, okay, don't think about apples. And now that's all I can think about before I even read your freaking article.
That reminds me of a young Kaylin story. I'll have to tell you guys later.
A young Kaylin story.
Yeah.
Good to know. So I just don't like the trigger warning.
Yeah.
So, and so like we were talking internally, like, because there's a lot of conversations that we have to have throughout the team that are A, could be triggering, and B, are just uncomfortable. So I was like, wouldn't it be cool from an aligned perspective if we did a UC uncomfortable conversation or uncomfortable content? It can be used for either one, based upon stuff that we need, like people need to talk about, but not not everyone's going to want to have that conversation.
So explain that. I don't think I've heard you talk about this. So it's like literally like you, the letter U.
I remember.
Why don't I remember? You see?
This was determined because of you.
What? Please don't say that. That makes me scared for my brain.
That makes me scared for your brain too.
Yeah, that's not a good thing. I'm not
we
even
were talking all about it when it comes to like, well, we need to have more of these uncomfortable conversations.
Sure, I remember that.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, you see, great. And then yes.
And then we vibed on that instead of trigger warning. I was there for it. I remember.
It's okay. Sorry. You were in your uncomfortable conversation, so we're going to give you grace there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Needed. So it's so UCs.
It's going to be a little UC designation that it's uncomfortable conversation or uncomfortable content, that when people want to talk about stuff like that on social media, they can put a little flag on it. So it just gives a warning, but not a trigger warning.
Yeah. I'm remembering better now. I was applying the UC to our internal team, which will also use it there
100%.
as opposed to a whole idea that we had for our actual,
well, I mean,
for aligned. Yeah.
Parallels.
Yeah.
For sure.
Parallels for sure.
And then when we first start getting into executive coaching and teach people how to create an intentional company, I'm sure we'll bring UC in there.
Yeah, for sure. So we've had a lot of those lately. How much do we want to talk about, like right now?
I'll leave that up to you guys. I feel like I've talked a lot.
I think that it is worth mentioning how excited we are about the CTO that we hired and is now working. I think you should talk about that a little bit, Kaylin.
Yeah, man, I could not be more thankful for this individual. He has a lot of aspects of his chart that are similar to mine, and his human design is very similar to mine. And so I think there's a great deal of relief that his presence offers, which is wild. And not even relief that I thought I needed, which was weird, because I, like, in the ways that he's like quote unquote relieved like responsibilities for me, I wasn't even feeling burdened at all by it. But it's almost like, oh wow, there's someone else here that like does what I do in the way that I do it in the most complimentary way. And it's almost like you are the best at what you do, and you're taking this over, and you are going to bring us that much better, that much closer, and to our goals, and so much faster, I guess. So yeah, he's just a good guy.
He's a machine. He delights in work. He delights in working, and he's very, as you said, Kaylin, the best at what he does. And he is older than any of us. And I also think that brings a lot of like wisdom and stability too. From the very first time I talked to him in our first, 15-minute screening, I was just like, this guy is going to be top runner. I knew it in 3 minutes. So that's exciting. And then kind of the flip side of that, I think is worth mentioning, is someone else that we really felt that way about as well. It didn't work out. And that was hard. It was hard for us to just walk through all the pieces of those conversations that had to happen. I don't know what we really want to say about it, but
it was one of those UCs.
Yeah.
A series of them. So
yeah,
listeners just need to know, if they followed us, that we say that we have hard conversations, and we continue to try our best to have the hard conversation. So
yeah.
And sometimes it feels like they're happening every 6 minutes.
Yeah.
No, I think that there is something worth mentioning when it comes to, one of the hard conversations that the three of us had. And that is that even though there are things that you might not want to say because you care about people, it is important to say it because you say it in a way or with the intention that it is for the good of the collective, for the good of the group. So even though it might be hard for you, or that little thing in your brain is like, oh, don't say that. Like, oh, that's going to like ruffle someone's feathers. It's like, no, you need to say it. And if you're saying it to your people, they are going to be able to get to the point where they can hear it, they can listen to it, and they can digest it, and then they can, acknowledge. So
yeah, that's a whole other piece of probably another 3 hours that Kim spent on me that I haven't even brought up. And so that's something that I've, been aware of for a while, that I have these blocks when it comes to using my voice like this. I just fall immediately into fear. Like it's a visceral response. I just go there into this, I don't know, blank frozen mode. And so I've really been getting to the bottom of that as well. And so more to come on that for me personally, anyway. It's going to change the way that I communicate when I'm feeling uncomfortable, because what I've realized is I have either frozen or ignored or run away from any confrontation or person that made me feel uncomfortable or triggered. That's my mode of operation. And that's how I've handled it, starting all the way back from the first time I was molested. Just started there and just like worked its way all the way through. And I thought that I had dealt with it or healed from it. But what I'm being made to realize is that I've just run away from it or ignored it. So now it's time for me to learn how to face myself. It's a whole thing. And I am. No, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm here for it because I can't bring the things that I know are already there for me into my life until I remove this block. I can't cock block myself.
I love that word.
Her throat.
Cock block, throat chakra.
Speaking of that, did Kim say anything about your throat chakra?
She doesn't really move much in the third dimension chakras. She more goes into this like other realm of saying a lot of other words. She's
but if she's talking about speaking, it's
it's a whole thing. So yeah, good stuff.
Amazing.
Wow.
Is there anything else we missed, guys?
I don't think so.
I think that's good for now. Thanks for staying with us, listeners, if you made it this far.
Exactly.
Correct.
Good job. Well done.
And we'll see you next week.